Some people just finally want to see Final Fantasy VII. Some just want to see the new Animal Crossing. But you see, I'm not like most girls. Your Final Fantasy is my Cats 2. Your Animal Crossing is my Spectrobes. Games that need remasters. Now, there are some of these that would have made this list that already got announced, thankfully, and I'll save those for the end just because I think they deserve a special, like an honorable mention. But without further ado, these are the games that I think this world would be better off with if they got remastered today. Hit it.
Just accepted all applications and tuition will be paid on Friday.
Good day for a swell battle.
Can't be ribbon a mic, the mic like the Ray me measles, all contagious like my lyrical pages. But I'm flipping the mic.
I feel like a rapper with this thing, dude. Check it out. Check it out. He went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. If you never played Cats 2, I think you're missing out. Whoa, Chase, who wants to pet digital cats all day, dude? That's boring. Well, stop right there, buddy. That's not the reason I have roughly 80 hours in this game. If you've never played Cats 2, I wouldn't expect you to understand, but get this. This game is an RPG. I promise I'm not lying. This story is greater than Zelda. Okay, maybe I won't go that far, but it's a lot better than you'd think it is. But before you eagerly run to GameStop to drop that whopping $5, there's some weird things going on with this game and the platforms that it's on, so hear me out before you plan on making a big purchase like this. You see, this version of the game is an RPG. And this version of the game is what you thought this game was. Yeah, they have the same logo and cover, but two completely different games. On top of surprising me as a kid, I'm sure it disappointed some smaller kids who thought they were getting a pet simulator game. But unfortunately, they got a story mode. Speaking of the story, you play as a cat or a dog if you had the dog's version, and your dad has this thing called a magic hat, the most powerful magical object in the lore. And the antagonist, a wolf, which I always thought was weird because I was playing cats, and a wolf is not a cat. I think a lion or a jaguar would have made more sense, but I digress. Tricks you into giving him the hat. Then you're put in jail, but you're let out on one condition: that you help all the townspeople with whatever they need and try to get the hat back from the wolf. That opens up the world to a bunch of side quests and whatnot. I just thought it was always a cute little sleeper pick that not a lot of people knew about. And because it is so unknown, it has a small little cult following. So to see this game remastered or re-released in some way would be pretty cool. Maybe it would get me to actually finish an RPG for the first time in years. Not even Pokemon escaped that habit of mine, and it's kind of depressing. But then again, if Ubisoft Paris were to jump back into this game, the opportunity cost would be greater than their profit off of a new Cats game of all things. Because if they're working on a Cats game, they're not working on Just Dance or Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Not that Breakpoint is making that much money anyway. But I'm digressing again. You know, to be honest, I think a lot of people, myself included, were just surprised that this game was as good as it is. Like, we just expected a pet simulator of sorts and got this really dope RPG. I'm sure for a lot of people it was the first RPG they ever played. I think I fall into that category. Actually no, because Pokemon's technically an RPG, but anyway, I think a lot of people were just surprised at this game. So now it has such a cult following because it's just kind of like, whoa, that game exists? What? That actually happened? Like, what? But anyway, if you're not a part of that cult fan base, I'm sure you feel like you just wasted a couple minutes of your life, and I'm sorry for that, but at least now you know. Now if you hear somebody talking about it, you can give up a little bit of information on it. Now you know like the bare minimum of it. So this one is definitely not a surprise, but Bioshock is such a good game, I would like to see a complete remaster of it. Yeah, we had some kind of remaster on the PC, but I'm talking full redo of everything about the game. Full HD textures to come to par with the current gen of hardware. Let me tickle your gamer bits real quick. Imagine this. Ray tracing Bioshock. Dude, if I had a Bioshock with advanced shadow technology, I would never have to leave my house. I could die happy. But aside from its graphics, playing the game now, you can definitely feel its age and its mechanics. I think the AI of the enemies could be better, definitely lacking by today's standards. And my god, these controls are clunky as hell. Just to find any kind of enjoyment out of the game, I had to remap just about everything to function. But other than that, this is an amazing game that has stood the test of time. But a remaster, I think, could double its lifetime sales of the game. Bioshock is just that kind of game where if they were to re-release it in any shape or form, I'm sure a lot of people would play it. I'm sure they get a fraction of the community kind of like, I already played it once, I don't need to play it again. But I'm sure a majority of people will look at that and be like, yo, that looks like the definitive way to play it. I'm going to play it again. I'm going to buy it. The graphics look good. The controls sound better. I'm totally going to buy it again. But yeah, bottom line, don't think a lot of people would be very against experiencing it again in a more aesthetic and efficient way. Now, I seriously doubt you've heard of this game, and my god, that's a disservice to the game. I think if this game had a little bit more popularity, it could be a decent Pokemon competitor. The premise of the game is that there are these ancient creatures that you can capture with this little alien gadget on your wrist that attach to you while you're investigating an alien crash site. But now you can get one of these little guys to follow you around and use them to scan the ground around you to find fossils and minerals. The fossils can later be used to awaken a Spectrobe to give you another one. It's kind of like capturing Pokemon. And the minerals are used to either heal or level up your Spectrobes. The process of getting a fossil out of the ground is really cool, but it's not as easy as you think. Yeah, you get these tools and stuff, but if you break the fossil, you will not be able to get it again until you find that same fossil again. I think this game was a little bit ahead of its time because when you use these boys to fight, you're fighting something that you can see coming at you, much like Pokemon Let's Go. If this game were to be remastered to something of the quality like Temtem, I think this game could take off in popularity. There's so much stuff to go in depth with, like the minerals and the cubes, and you can change the stats of your Spectrobes by doing certain things, and the battles aren't turn-based. You get to walk around freely and hit the enemies with your Spectrobes. It's not super fast, it's more of a cooldown type thing, but it's definitely not turn-based fighting. But if we were to get a graphic overhaul with some sprucing up of some of the menus and a little less contrived of a story, this would be an absolute top tier game. Top tier game indeed, but it would be godlike if it were released on the Xbox, PlayStation, and PC as well. All the games in this series came out between 2007 and 2009, and they were all released on Nintendo platforms. So if this would come out on a different platform, and maybe all platforms, I think they could have a hit on their hands. You would definitely never find me complaining if it just got a remake or remaster just on the Switch. I would definitely play that. But I think it would feel a lot better to sit down and play it on the keyboard and mouse. Not to mention, there are a bunch of people who will see a game like this and just drop the $30 on Steam if it's in early access or whatever. I just think the amount of potential in this series is so freaking huge. The potential in a great game and the potential in popularity. If they were to capitalize on it in an effective way and make a good remaster, I think that would be huge for them. The collective eye roll and sigh from the Sonic community that is Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, I have a special place in my heart for this game, and I think some other people do too. I can't be the only one who played this as a kid and didn't hate it. I remember the story being, to put it nicely, dumb. Just another contrived plot to say, hey, you need to get these Chaos Emeralds real quick. I think the star of the show was the gameplay. Still clunky because it's an old PS2 game, but it was a lot of fun to zip around and hit dudes in the face. And if that's not your forte, here, try gun. Yeah, because of the guns, everyone just kind of wrote this off as an edgy Sonic game, and I think that's a disservice to what the devs have actually done here. I think with a graphical overhaul and controls being actually good, they could have a huge hit on their hands. I think I've said that 3 times already. This could be a huge game. If it was remade in the vein of Spider-Man for the PS4, dude, this game could be huge. And you don't even necessarily have to have a good story mode, because if the gameplay is good, people are going to come back. For example, look at the Spider-Man for PS4. The story was like a 7 out of 10 at best, but the gameplay is what kept people coming back. It's what gave it the high scores on whatever your preferred choice of review platform is. It was a good game for the gameplay. The story, it was complimentary. I'm not saying that the gameplay carried the game, but I think good gameplay in a game like Shadow the Hedgehog could be huge for the series.
With these suckers on perspective, check it. Flame off. I know the light is bright, but keep on watching me. I'm stolen property, kicking the flavor to society.
This one speaks for itself. Mario Tennis Aces was amazing, and if we can get a Sluggers game in that same vein, bro, I could squee. I always like the different combos of characters you can like put in outfield, and the chemistry gauge goes up. Like, I think if they could effectively do that and flesh it out a little bit more, it could be such a good in-depth game. That would give it a lot more longevity than Mario Tennis Aces did. This one is such a simple game, but I think it just could be expanded out a little bit more. Like, add some new fish, add some new weapons, add some new enemies. That would make the game way more in-depth and not as repetitive. And then maybe I could get that $5 back that I paid for this game. Don't laugh at me. You know that like 4 out of 10 on the difficulty meter part of Pokemon where you battle the Pokemon? Yeah, that has its own game, and it's called Pokemon Battle Revolution. Pokken Tournament sold a lot on the Switch.
Now imagine if there was a new Pokemon battle game out on the Switch with like flashy animations and super pretty models. It would sell a lot. Like the whole game could just be a giant game of fan service. You know, people like me who have been following it for, 10 odd years, a lot of people since the 90s, so a lot longer. They've been paying attention to the weird Pokédex entries that you've had throughout the entire life of the game. Like, and imagine if based off of these Pokédex entries or just fan service in general, if there were like Mortal Kombat style intros to the battles. Like instead of the regular Pokemon games where you just throw the Pokeball out and then the Pokemon comes out and you start battling, like what if based off of your first Pokemon in your party, that intro to the battle is different? Like say my main man, my first Pokemon in my party is Lucario, and then before a battle we do some taekwondo fusion dance, like you know what I mean? And some of them could be funny too. Like imagine you have a Magikarp and your trainer is just like walking in holding a giant aquarium full of water and just kind of tosses that out on the floor and it breaks, but there's Magikarp on the field now. Imagine your trainer just like it just shows up, your trainer's on like a phone or something, and then you hear like, are you ready for the drop? And your trainer nods, and then like it pans up, and then a Wailord hanging from a crane just falls onto the floor. But anyway, that's something that I could talk about all day. I'm just for the sake of you guys, I'm gonna move on now. So that was it. Those are the games that I want to see get some kind of remaster. What'd you think? Also, some games, like I mentioned in the beginning, some games that already got a remaster announced or released that would have made this list are Spyro, Destroy All Humans, and Battle for Bikini Bottom. I played Spyro when it came out. I think it is the perfect remaster, the definitive way to remaster something. Upgrade the graphics, upgrade the control schemes. Destroy All Humans keeps a special place in my heart as it was my first T-rated game, and you bet your bottom dollar that I was screaming when I found out that they were remaking it. I am so excited for this. THQ Nordic, I'm really counting on you guys for this one. And Battle for Bikini Bottom is just about as good as a licensed game is gonna get. I think it surprised a lot of people as kids to see how good this game actually was. And I think if they were to just re-release it without changing anything, just put it on newer platforms, it would sell a bunch. But if they're actually remaking it and completely redoing it, I think they're gonna make a fortune off of that one. I think a lot of people are gonna like it. So I would be happy to see any of these games mentioned in this video on a newer platform. Not even like a complete graphical overhaul or rework to the game. If they were just brought to the next generation of consoles, I would definitely be playing it again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to waiting for Destroy All Humans. I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Serious poetry will come from Socrates, but that ain't it. In 94, I kicked the hit if I was in front of Shakespeare. I battle punk and taking shit. I'm not having it. What's the narrative I come to give? Listen, rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live. The difference is kids nowadays, they got the video. Rappers don't need skills to build, so they don't really know. Hear me, yo. I'm 4 times on a skinny, yo. Got 10 videos.